Hi there, this is Steve Spurrier. You can join University of Florida Hall of Famer Shane Matthews and also the two-time SEC Player of the Year every weekday as he brings you all you need to know about the Florida Gators, including news, analysis, opinions, and some of the biggest names in sports. You can find him on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. Or you can watch him live at 8 a.m. on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter.
Good morning. It's a live edition of PodUp with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. It's Friday. We'll have JC. We'll have Steve Russell, the Dean of Sports Talk Radio, talk a little Gator baseball, crank up SEC play tonight with the Aggies rolling into town undefeated. If you missed it last night, Gators win against Georgia, didn't play great, had opportunities just to blow those jokers out, but I have never seen a team miss more 5 to 6 foot wide open shots in the paint as we did, and our free throw shooting was terrible. But in tournament play, it's all about win and advance. So they play. The game will probably start at 10:30 tonight. Let's be honest. I stayed up and watched the whole damn game. I'm tired. Yeah. JC, you're on the Titan More Hotline, courtesy of Comfort Temp. What's up?
Well, I'm like you, QB. It was hard staying up last night. And the way that game went, it kind of made me not want to. But I battled through it. Walter Clayton, saved the day.
He's so good. He's so good.
But so is Will Richard. I mean, I think he saved the day early in the game. And Clayton had 15 out of 22 points in the second half last night as well to save the game. But, yeah, they're both really super players. I just worry about how's Florida going to play on neutral courts, on neutral sites. And, I'm glad they won. I think sometimes you have a rough game like that, and then you kind of take off. Your trajectory goes like this. And that's what happened in 1994 when I covered the Gators to the Final Four. They struggled against James Madison, of all people, in their first game in the NCAA tournament, and then they just exploded to the upside and made it to the Final Four under Lon Kruger. This is the kind of thing that can happen. Todd Golden has this big bonus QB. He went to the bank before he went to the arena last night. I mean, Florida's locking them up. Same thing happened with Lamont at South Carolina. So these guys not only cash big new checks, they got new wardrobes, new cars, new everything, and then rolled on into Nashville and won them some SEC tournament basketball games. So I was excited about that. I'm under the weather, QB, so I've had a chance to watch a lot of basketball yesterday. I watched golf all day. If you're going to get sick, make sure you get sick during March, the month of March. You have to get sick during the month of March. It's the only month worth getting sick at because you got basketball and golf. TPC was tremendous. I love the way Wyndham Clark plays the short game around the greens. He is unbelievable. And I think Scheffler, with all his consistency, we're looking at and then Rory with the way he can birdie anything, anytime. I think it's going to be a tremendous weekend. The greens are going to be fast. It's going to be 80 degrees up there. It's going to be great.
Yeah. Speaking of golf, I watched a lot yesterday, and there was a lot of discussion on a ball Rory snap hooked. Yeah. I forgot which hole it was.
I think it was 18.
It was like a 20-minute conversation with the PGA officials.
It was 18.
Was it 18? Yeah.
Yeah, because he had a 290-yard shot from where he dropped that he stuck on the green and made, I think, 5. He made 5. So, incredible shot. 290 yards he dropped from, stuck it on the green and 2-putted.
Yeah, so it's they tore it up yesterday. If there's no wind or weather, that course is too easy for those guys in today's world. This is the way they hit the ball, and it's just a pitch and putt now. So hopefully we'll get some wind. Hopefully they'll burn the greens and make them really fast. Yeah. The par fives, they had 26 eagles, I think, yesterday.
Yeah, par 5.
I mean, think about that.
Yeah.
And in one round, they had 26 eagles.
Well, 11 and 16.
If
they really wanted, right, turn the place into a par 70 and make them par 4s. See how that works. That would be one thing I could do to make it tougher, to make it better. But you're right. I mean, everybody's putting for eagle on 11 or 16. It's incredible the way these guys perform. But they set up the tournament the way they want to because it's their championship players. And you notice there are no live players at the Players' Championship.
No.
But
All right, so let me get to some of these comments. Taylor
then
on YouTube.
I got to run through I got some bracketology for you after you get through comments.
Okay, I'm sure okay, Joe. Taylor on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing. So Shane, I've heard you say several times that Mahomes is better than Brady. What you think about LeBron versus MJ? Curious, because most our age would say Brady is still the QB GOAT, but not you. I said Mahomes is going to surpass him, in my opinion, if he stays healthy. I don't get into the LeBron MJ deal. Both of them are tremendous players. LeBron's played a hell of a lot longer. We all know that.
I couldn't care less. But
yeah. Barone says Florida basketball needs to wake up some. The Vandy and Georgia games are not how they want to be playing next week. Hopefully versus Bama, they get back to business. Look, if JC can probably attest to this because he was on his couch with some Kleenexes and some nice chicken noodle soup yesterday.
Right. That is true.
There were a ton of upsets. There are a lot of people that were on the bubble or there were one seeds in their tournament, and now that they got knocked out, they're not going to go to the tournament. So it's all about moving on and advancing. And nobody would be sitting here worried about the Gators right now if our bigs had made just a third of the shots within the paint.
Lord.
I mean, have you ever seen a team miss so many little chip shots?
And that's why I don't think you're going to see that often. And that's why I think, again, you sometimes have games like this, and then after that, you take off. I'm telling you, folks, don't be surprised if they take off and win tonight and then go into the weekend with a chance to take the whole thing. But, I understand the concern. I understand, too. I was thinking, what –
the greatest basketball program of all time got their ass beat by the hat you're wearing, and they're terrible.
Well, and they are, but here's what I'm going to say about these guys. Do you want me to do bracketology right now or not?
Yeah, let's hear your Joe Lenardi bracketology.
It's going to be very quick. These guys playing on their third straight night beat Duke. They've got 20 wins. They win again. I wouldn't be surprised to see them slip in as an at-large. Then you've got these guys right here. These guys are going to be a number one seed. These guys are no joke, and they could be the number 2 seed overall of the top seeds because they are a senior, or I should say a veteran-laden team. These guys right here, now these guys.
You don't want any part of them.
They play defense better than the professional team in the same town that they might be as good as the Houston Rockets for that matter. But these guys are they're not college kids. You take a look at their bodies and you take a look at those players and the way they play defense, dear Lord. I mean, if they want to turn it on, this team right here could be the best team in the country. If you want to talk about defense, folks, these guys right here are going to be probably a number 2 seed. These guys right here are unbelievable on the defense. Last night against Kansas State, they turned over the Wildcats 35% of Kansas State's possessions. Now, just think about what I just said. On 35% of Kansas State's possessions, Iowa State turned the ball over is what I'm saying, dominated the second half. Those fans at Iowa State are nuts. They travel everywhere, and they call Kansas City Hilton South. So they are unbelievable. Then how about these guys? These dudes right here, nobody's talking about them, but these guys are 7 out of their last 10 they've won. They are 6-1 since they fired their coach. This new guy, this interim coach, is probably going to get the main job. They are tremendous right now. Nobody in the Big Ten wants the Buckeyes. And then finally, I'm really into what these guys are going to do against the Houston Cougars because these dudes right here, again, a team nobody talks about, but a team that's going to be in the tournament in what is probably the best conference in basketball, the Big 12. And I'm telling you, I could go on and on, but that's
well, hang on. Where's your UConn hat at?
Yeah, that one I'm thinking is underneath the hamper. I got mad at them one year and threw them away. But UConn, I said it a month ago, QB, it's their world and we're all living in it.
Well, I mean, you don't have to freaking tell me that. I mean, anybody that has a heartbeat knows that.
Except these brothers right here, these dudes, I'm telling you, this team is just flat nasty. And that team ain't going to be afraid of UConn. And I really believe we're going to have this team, UConn, Northern Carolina, and either Purdue or Arizona as your top seeds. That's going to be what you can expect here on Selection Sunday, which, believe it or not, is the day after tomorrow.
Yes, it is. There's no
Did you like
question about that. Live a healthier lifestyle with our bold, flavorful smoothies and amazing food. Tropical smoothie. When you eat better, you feel better. JC, obviously you ain't been eating very good since you don't feel great.
But it's amazing what a nice little flu or cold can do for you during March Madness. You get to watch so much stuff, and you get to look at golf all day while you're watching basketball, because I have 3 TVs, QB, all in the living room there. And as I'm watching the golf, which was just, I mean, if you like scoring, okay, you had to enjoy it. If you like tougher conditions, then it may not have been your thing. But not everybody played great. Justin Thomas, up and down, and finished at 1 under, but he could have easily finished at 4 over. So, it was just a really good day of golf. But the weather is going to be amazing this weekend, and the greens are going to be much more difficult for the players. But again, if they can get home in 2 on these par 5s like you and I just discussed, those are easy scoring holes. If there's no wind, really, that course has to have wind, or it has no defense. There's no defense.
None.
If it's not blowing, if the wind's not blowing, these guys are too good. They'll light it
up. Somebody on here said, how about Riley Cook going 6 for 6 from the free throw line?
Yeah.
He did a great job shooting free throws, but then he made a free throw to put us up by like 4 or 5 and with like 14. And then he fouls a guy trying to make a steal. It's stupid. Well, it is just absolutely stupid. He look, he's athletic. He only played because of Pullen getting fouled out. But he does too many things that I would not put him on the court.
Did you see how Walter Clayton tried to coach up Tyrese Samuel on the free throw line?
Let me tell you something. Walter Clayton is such just a dog. I'm telling you, man. Yeah. He is like in slow motion, makes plays, and wants the ball. He wants the ball in his hands.
Yeah. I'm a buyer. I just love it. He goes up to dude, goes, man, follow through with your hands. And they got to make these free throws, QB. You know that.
Well, the free throws, I do. I mean, he shot. Somebody said he made like 15 straight before this game. I'm not worried about the free throws as much as I am. They played us zone. Everybody talks about playing zone. Well, how do you get people out of zone? You make shots. We could not make shots from the SEC logo at like 6 feet in the paint.
Yeah.
And I mean that's the reason the game was close.
Were you worried about that with the way Georgia was kind of locking them down in the first half?
No, because you know what happened? Did you see what happened when the game got close? You know who took the ball in his hands and said, I'm taking over? Walter Clayton.
I'm going to win the game.
Yeah, he took it over.
Yeah.
And
they're going to be running up and down the courts tonight. I just hate the fact that it's going to be on so late. I hope I can make it. I just don't.
Well, take a 5-hour energy, JC. It's Friday night. You don't have to get up and do a podcast. You can sleep all day.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah. Michael on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing, says, great call by Ty Golden on the illegal sub by Georgia with about 5 minutes left in the game. Seemed to agitate Mike White and what he wanted to do. Commentators applauded. Look, Ty Golden's a good basketball coach. You can say what you want to say. You can talk about missed free throws, this, that, and the other. Their X's and O's on offense are pretty damn good.
Well, it really doesn't make you miss Mike White that much. I mean, I watch these guys play offense compared to what I watched 2 years ago, and it's a night and day. I mean, I love watching this team play offense. Don't you, QB? I mean, I think that's why he got hired. Because if you remember when he coached at San Francisco, they had a guard, and that guard might have been one of the best guards in the country. And I don't know what his name was, but if you look back at Todd Golden's past coaching career, he had a guard at San Francisco. I bet you Steve Russell would know what the guy's name is, but that guy was unbelievable.
I bet he doesn't.
Well, they played against Florida, they played against Florida and lost to the Gators in the NCAA tournament. And I think that's how Scott Strickland found this guy, Todd Golden, who he's now locked up for the next 5 years or so. And I mean, look, your basketball program is now in the stable hands of a coach who's not looking to go anywhere.
So, JC, listen to this. I got a trivia question for you. Rick Pitino, supposedly, I didn't realize this. Look, all the basketball tournaments are great, but there's something about, and I don't know if it's because of the crowd noise, but when you turn on the Big East tournament at Madison Square Garden, it's probably because most of those schools have nothing to root for but their basketball team. The atmosphere is unbelievable. But I didn't realize St. John's has won like 7 or 8 games in a row. They won yesterday.
I need
But
a
did
hat.
you know Rick Pitino will, if they make the tournament, which people think they are now, Pitino will be the first coach ever to lead 6 different schools to the NCAA tournament. Can you name them all?
Well, I can name a few of them. Louisville and Kentucky for sure. Iona is another one. That would be 3. St. John's would be a 4, of course, or would be Providence Friars. He was in the Final Four with Billy Donovan as his guard, beating Alabama in the final.
You got one more.
Shoot, one more. Okay.
Where he started his coaching career, very small place.
Yeah, small school. Well, I said shucks, I don't know. Tell me what it is.
Boston University.
What, BU? Okay. Well, he's also one of the only coaches, and I mean only coach you'll see wearing a suit on the sideline.
A very expensive suit, by the way.
Mm-hmm. I'll give you another team he coached, and I know you knew this too.
The Celtics. I know he coached the Celtics, and he coached the Nets and all these other teams in the NBA.
The Knickerbockers.
Yeah, he coached a bunch of people.
God, he's been around everywhere. You know, fell out of grace at Louisville, but is back now. I think St. John's was a perfect place for him to go, and it's in the city.
Let's just be thankful. Gator fans need to be thankful that Walter Clayton Jr. didn't follow his coach to St. John's.
That's right. He stayed at because he was at Iona, the Gale. Well, it's a great. It's fun to watch, man. I mean, if you're into this is a time of year that you love, and I love it, and I can't wait till we get our brackets, QB, and on Monday we can talk about some bracket busters or whatever, because you always love talking about the underdog teams. That's kind of your thing. And you like to say, well, watch out for South Dakota State. Watch out for
Samford and James Madison.
And the
Samford and James Madison. Look out.
The Dukes. You love that part of the bracket. So we'll hear what your big upsets are going to be, because you know a 5 is going to lose to a 12. It always happens every damn year. So I think this is going to be fun to talk about next week. And then, of course, this golf tournament. I just can't quit talking about it, because it's right down the road here, and it's I think it's going to be great with these names up there on the board. U.S. Open champion.
I do like your thoughts. So however, I don't know if there's enough land, or, I think holes 16 and 17 and 18 are 3 of the best holes to finish on the tour. 16 is just too damn easy now. They need to do something. I don't know if they, maybe put a creek going from the 17 pond, like in the landing area across the fairway. You got to just make it more difficult. It's too easy.
It is. I mean, that shot Matthew Fitzpatrick hit yesterday with a 4-iron or something. I mean, it was this far.
Well, a lot of guys hit 6 and 7-iron into it.
So, I mean, it could have been. I don't know what iron it was. I just assumed it may be something like that. But it was just right on the pin. These guys have no trouble getting there. And because they can fly it to the green, and so they don't worry about landing it in front of the green.
It's too easy.
There is no room. It's too short. It's too short.
11's too easy too. Text on the Titan MR text line from Eric in Tampa says, QB, please remind the people to get some positivity in their life. Tournament basketball is all about survive and advance. Enjoy the ride. Go Gators. I agree 1,000%.
No, man, guys, remember Billy Donovan's biggest win, and Steve Russell will tell you this too, I bet. One of his biggest.
We're going to talk baseball with him, though.
Okay, but one of his biggest, Billy's biggest wins, the great Billy Donovan. And remember, if it hadn't have been for this win, they may not have won their first championship. But one day, they were struggling. I mean, struggling mightily. And Mike Miller made a shot at the buzzer by just driving to the hoop. It may have been against Manhattan or somebody like that. But they were playing some anonymous team in the first round, and he made a shot. Mike Miller, if anybody remembers him, made a shot. It was Butler. Okay. So he made a shot literally at the buzzer, and they won by a point. After that, they ran to the Elite Eight or whatever they went. And I don't think he was part of a national title team, but that got Billy off the schneid, because Billy had some problems in the first and second round early in his Florida career. He did not always win at the tournament, but then he got over the hump with that one play against that one anonymous team, and they took off from there. And then they just went on and won 2 straight national titles. So just know that you could play bad against a shitty team, Oh, I shouldn't have said it that way, but
you're fine. It's perfectly fine.
But you can always come back and just dominate a really good team the next night. It's tournament time, folks. It's tournament time. I wouldn't be surprised to see them win tonight. Not at all.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, a lot of teams that were supposed to win lost yesterday.
Yeah.
And now may not make the big dance. So it's just an exciting time. You're not going to play great basketball every game. But for some reason, our fans think you should.
Well,
somebody on here said that Rick Pitino was right about Clayton. He doesn't play defense. He plays good enough defense. I think people forget last night in that game, Poland couldn't play defense because he was playing with 4 fouls and then he fouls out. Yeah. Clayton had 3 or 4 fouls. So look, there was a 50-something fouls called in the game.
A lot of whistles. It dragged it on, but it's just an ugly. See, Georgia's plan was to get Florida into an ugly fistfight type of game, right? Because Georgia's an ugly kind of team. They don't have a lot of offense. They want to zone you up. They want to go down into the hole with that big 7-footer. But look, Florida mudded with them. They got in the mud with them and came out winning by 5, almost covered. So I just think that you're going to see a completely different game tonight. It's going to be a race, and I think that suits Florida's liking to a T. They love going into races. I think that'll help people's opinion.
Ron says he likes Florida to win tonight as well. Bama doesn't play any defense.
No,
it'll be a track meet.
Yeah, it's going to be a race, and that suits Florida. And then if they win that, I think it would be Kentucky. Potentially Kentucky. Another team that may have played their way in last night, I need to mention, is Texas A&M, because they've beaten Ole Miss the last 2 straight times they've played. They're kind of on a little bit of a winning streak. They got snubbed by the committee a few years ago. I think Texas A&M could be a team that has won. And Mississippi State, the Dogs are in. They've got a lot of good non-conference wins, Tier 1, Quad 1, whatever. And they had to win that game against LSU. They won that game against LSU. This Josh Hubbard is one of the best damn freshmen you've ever seen in your life. Took over the game from the outside, opened it up for their athletes on the inside. And the Bulldogs with Chris Jans, I think, are a 10 seed or better in the tournament. They've got a good resume, and I'm really happy for that program because, as you and I both know, we love Mississippi State.
Yeah. This Day in Sports brought to you by Campus USA Credit Union. Put some star power to work in your financial life with Campus USA Credit Union. JC, in 1869, with 10 salaried players, the Cincinnati Red Stockings became baseball's first professional team. That's This Day in Sports brought to you by Campus USA Credit Union.
Choked me up. Wow. Well,
the Red Stockings.
The Red Stockings. The Red Legs, the Red Stockings. Yeah. Well, I hated them in the 70s when they beat my Yankees. They were the big red machine, bro. And then the Yankees finally won the World Series for me in 77 and 78. But in 76, Johnny Bench, Pete Rose, George Foster, Ed Armbrister, Don Gullett, Don Nottingham. Don Nottingham, he was a football player. Ken Griffey, Dan Dreesen, Dave Concepcion. I could go on, but you get the idea. That was
we got a text here, a bunch of texts. I'm just picking a few here and there. Brett on the Titan More text line says, Shane, you keep talking about how great our backcourt is. I just don't see it. What are you seeing that I don't?
Well, why doesn't he see it? I mean, they win the game.
Well, first of all, one of them was all SEC first team, Poland. Yeah. The second one was second team. Clayton Jr. was second team all SEC. So,
and then Will Richard is a heck of a player.
I said it from day one at the beginning of the year. Will Richard knocks down his shots. This team can beat anybody in America because he is the X factor.
He was doing that last night in the first half, I should say. I see that to me is why this team is good, is because of their guards. We've talked about it. I mean, why else would they be good then? Give me another reason why Florida is where they are and is going to the tournament. There's got to be another reason. If it's not the guards, well, it is the guards. It's the guards. Yeah. I know they crashed the offensive boards, but they didn't do it in the first half last night. It was a guard.
Andy says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mellon, off topic, but it must be nice for Kirk Cousins to have a teammate like Kyle Pitts instead of a legendary narcissist like Sonny Jurgensen. I guess he's referring to I think Kyle Pitts is giving Cousins number 8. However, I'm pretty sure Kirk has paid a price for that number.
Yeah. Well,
But
Kirk's got the money to pay it now. My goodness, you saw the contract they gave him.
Yeah, but
coming off an Achilles tendon injury, dear Lord.
I think Kirk Cousins is a legit NFL quarterback. He's everything you want from your leader of your program, and he will make the Falcons a problem in that division.
Well, think about that division. It's not what you might call murderer's row, even though the Saints and Bucks, play pretty tough football games. But that's not a great division, I don't think. I tell you what, another team that I think scored big is Baltimore, getting Derrick Henry. They're going to get the kid from Ohio State that hurt his Achilles last year back as well. So, Derrick Henry going to Baltimore could really solve some problems for the Ravens, and Lamar kind of takes some of the heat off Lamar. I think that was a big pickup, and I think Saquon to Philadelphia was a huge pickup for the Eagles because they're just such disarray with their running game. They got rid of DeAndre Swift. The Bears, meanwhile, are picking up everybody. Everybody's going to the Bears. Last night we had Keenan Allen go to the Bears. Then we have the DeAndre Swift is now a Bear. You've got that pass rusher from Mississippi State, very good pass rusher. He's a Bear edge on the edge. So I think the Bears are trying. They're trying to get some help for Fields, which tells me I think they're going to keep Fields and take a draft pick.
Yeah, they're getting rid of Fields from what I'm hearing.
Oh, you think they're getting rid of Fields?
Yeah.
Oh,
they're gonna take Caleb Williams, is what I hear.
Okay. Well, they're
not drafting them. Hey, they're not drafting them down wide receiver for Justin Fields.
Right. Well, who didn't they also sign Calvin Ridley? Who signed Calvin? Somebody just signed Calvin Ridley to a max deal. Oh, the Tennessee Titans signed Calvin Ridley.
Alan says the Florida big men are mediocre. Samuel can't make layups or foul shots. Condon has great potential as a freshman, as does Houck.
You sure you don't have a lot of Florida State? You sure you don't have the Florida State audience on here?
I don't know. These people, they don't understand athletics,
are you listening
I guess.
To we got the FSU, is it FSU Day on the podcast? So you got the FSU fans.
Speaking of negativity, JC, Robert says here on the Titan MR text line, the Gators are going to get swept this weekend. Book it. We suck in baseball.
I know what it is. They're doing reverse psychology. They're bringing they're bringing their expectation level way low so they can get really happy when what happens. I bet you that's what it is. That's got to be what it is. My God, you think these guys were just not competitive?
You would think we're our season's over. I mean, this team, if you listen to any of the basketball experts, they say we have our depth and our skill level at the big position is not like many other programs. And I'm not even going to go through this. I've been through it 100 times. Text on the Titan MR text line.
Just let it play out, QB.
This is from someone, Chris from Mayaca says, the Hard Rocks betting app doesn't have odds for Sanford to make the Final Four. I would like to throw $5 on them.
Yeah.
I don't know if they'll make the Final Four, but they're fun to watch.
There's always going to be that team, though.
James Madison could be that team.
Okay, throw it down on them. FAU, I think it was last year, was FAU. My head was clear right now. I could bring out some other great surprise teams. But listen, the March Madness that's why it's called March Madness, right? I mean, the madness is when these 5s lose to 12s and when these 2s lose to 15s. And you see the absolute mayhem on the court. And then, you have the big bruising team, like let's say Houston, they get on through, go easily into the Final Four, and then somebody like JMU battles with them in the Final Four. I mean, that's just kind of what the madness is all about. It's what we see. But I really think this year, though, QB, North Carolina, Houston, the UConn Huskies, and Arizona or Purdue, those teams, I don't see them not getting through the Sweet 16. I think all 4 of them will get past the Sweet 16 into the Elite Eight. They're just that good.
No, I mean, I love Carolina's roster. They have bigs. They have great guard play. They have everything you want. There's your hat.
Yeah, veteran team. They got it all. But don't discount these dudes, man. Their fans will drink all of the beer in the arena. There will be no beer left. And they will travel everywhere, and they'll raise hell. Iowa State should be a 2 seed, and nobody's talking about. Well, I guess they are talking about them in the Midwest, but they're impressive. They're impressive on the defensive end, man. They get after you so nasty on the defensive side of the ball. It's ugly, but it's effective, and they're pretty darn good.
All right, JC, we're going to get you out of here. We're going to get to the Dean of Sports Talk Radio and talk a little Gator baseball.
Aggies.
JC, get you some medicine.
Yeah, I'll be fine. This is nothing I haven't fought before. I'll battle.
Oh, by the way, JC, looking at the golf picks. Nick Taylor's up there.
Some guy talked about Nick Taylor the other day.
Well, some guy took Ludwig Oakberg too.
Whoever told us that we can't make golf picks better get to the videotape and change his mind immediately, because there he is.
Ju Young withdrew after like the 8th hole due to illness.
He said he got what I got.
I wonder if he went and ate at your restaurant in St. Augustine.
Bai Tong Thai. He went to Bai Tong Thai. But I tell you, Nick Taylor just pulled that one right out of the blue. You pulled out Ludwig. So
I love Ludwig. He's only like 22 years old.
Well, we're going to see how our international guys hold up, man, because it is an international type tournament. Flags.
All right, we're going to get to Steve Russell. Right. He knows what he's talking about. We don't. That's JC. Join us on the Titan Number Hotline with all his hats this morning. JC, here's what I want you to do. Here's your homework assignment. When the brackets come out Sunday night, let us know on Monday morning how many hats you have of the teams participating in the tournament. I
shall do that.
That's a great homework. JC, join us on the Titan Number Hotline. Take a quick time out. Come back. We'll be joined by Steve Russell, talk a little Gator baseball. You're watching and listening to PodUp with Matthews in the morning. We want to take this moment to thank our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our premium sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, the only official injury and accident law attorneys of the Florida Gators. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. QC Kinetics, live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Campus USA, put some star power to work in your financial life with Campus USA Credit Union. Dave & Buster's, eat, drink, play, watch. Radware, your local provider of promotional products, uniforms, and apparel. Our gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Silverback Concrete, Comfort Temp, Ruse Ogre State Farm Insurance, Radware, F45, Quality Plumbing. Our touchdown sponsors are Adams Ribs, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Okido America, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Big Mills Cheesesteak, McDonald's of Gainesville, 84 Lumber, Dowling Signs, Baker's Sporting Goods, Silver Q Billiards and Sports Bar. If you're interested in promoting your business on the show, call Freddie at 352-284-3733. If you like what we're doing here, make sure to follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Hi there, this is Coach Steve Spurrier, and I want to let you know that by popular demand, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill's delicious brunch is now served in a premium buffet. You have spoken, we have listened, and we're now serving Gainesville's only elevated buffet, complete with an omelet station, ginger sage chicken sausage, shredded short rib, and of course our chicken and waffles. Plus, you can enjoy bottomless mimosas and Bloody Marys. So join us every Saturday and Sunday from 11 to 3 for the best brunch in town.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Ruse Ogre State Farm offers a team of dedicated insurance professionals ready to help life go right with the right insurance options for you and your family. Visit ogreinsurance.com. Give them a call at 352-240-1779. We're going to go back to the Titan MR hotline, courtesy of Comfort Temp, and we're joined by the Dean of Sports Talk Radio from WRUF ESPN Gainesville, and also Cardozo's sidekick for baseball, Steve Russell. Good morning, Steve. How you doing?
Hey, good morning. Doing well.
Real quick, before we jump into baseball, Barone had a question here on YouTube brought to you by Quality Plumbing. QB, watching DJ Lagway's footwork, seems often he throws off his front foot rather than planting and pushing off the back foot. Is this common or could be a practice situation? I know exactly what you're talking about. It does look different. Um, you don't really want to throw falling backwards. You want to transfer your weight, but I know exactly what you're talking about. I noticed that as well. All right, Steve, let's just do this first before we get into baseball. Big weekend series kicking off the SEC. Gators, I don't know if you stayed up for it. I did. I'm hurting this morning. Didn't play great, but they found a way to win the basketball game in advance. And that's what all that matters at this point.
No doubt. I too stayed up late to see it and winced a lot because they did some things that they've not characteristically done. But you're right. This time of the year, you win in advance. Now, if you're Todd Golden, you're going to say, we need to do this better, need to do that better. But the bottom line is they beat Georgia, kind of a pesky team. Alabama's more, I think, what Florida wants to do. I think there's going to be a high-scoring game. The first two have been. I suspect it'll be again this time.
Yeah, I agree. All right, Gator baseball struggling a little bit right now. Obviously, the pitching, that's the big topic. I don't even know the answer to this. I know you do. Sully's still going with his 3 starters for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday that he's done over the weekends leading up to this series against A&M.
Yes, that's going to happen. I suspected that. But here's what I do think. I think this is a test weekend, Shane. If they continue to struggle, now Caglione hasn't. He's been really good Sunday. The Friday and Saturday starters have struggled. If that continues, then I think he will seriously consider one of two things. If Caglione pitches well again on Sunday, he can move him into a Friday night role because he really believes that Friday night guy is the tone setter for the entire weekend. And I agree with that. He's always had those studs on Friday night to sort of set the tone for a series. I think that's one thing. Then he talked about Brandon Neely's role. I think he's frustrated because he can't really get to Neely at this point, kind of wasting Neely. But when you move the closer, Shane, then other guys have to take up other roles. Who becomes the closer? Well, let's say Ryan Slater becomes the closer. Well, then who becomes the setup guy? So it's sort of a domino effect here. But this weekend will tell, I think, depending on how well they pitch, if these 3 guys stay where they are.
Speaking of moving Cags to Friday night, I know I heard, I don't know where I was, but Jeff said that he mentioned that to Sully, but they weren't sure. But then, so he called Brad Wilkerson, who kind of did the same thing as Cags did back in the day. And they were saying that the reason Cags may stay on the Sunday is because if he pitches on Friday night, it may fatigue him. Now, Steve, Cags is a phenomenal athlete. He's in great shape. I never pitched. I just played shortstop all through high school. I still have a hard time that a kid his age, if he pitched on Friday night, he wouldn't be as successful being a DH or playing first base on Saturday and Sunday. You agree with that?
Well, as somebody who has pitched, but not, and I did the dual thing. You know, if I didn't pitch, I played in the infield. But I don't buy that.
I don't either.
Maybe I'm crazy. I just don't buy that because he's already doing it, right? So let's flip that around. If Cags plays the field Friday and Saturday, then he'd be fatigued to pitch on Sunday. Well, he's pitching pretty good on Sunday. He's not fatigued. So they know more about it than me, way more than I know. But that's already happening, Shane. If he was going to be fatigued by playing Friday and playing Saturday, he'd be tired on Sunday. He's pitching lights out. So I don't get that. I don't buy that.
Yeah, he's too good of an athlete, in great shape, just a tremendous specimen. I'm with you. We'll see how this weekend goes. If not, put him on Friday night. Steve, we got a question here on the Titan MR text line from Darrow. Says, Steve, you think Sully will keep platooning Jacob Guy and Michael Robertson, or do you think he will eventually settle on one?
He will settle on one if one or the other can hit better. Right now, both are not hitting great to play every day. That's why the platoon. What's going to have to happen, though, Shane, for that to happen is let's say you got a righty. Well, then if you have a hunch that Jalen Guy is going to be okay that day, you play him right on right. But until I think they have confidence that either one of those guys can hit, like let's say the lefty can hit the lefty, the righty can hit the righty, I think you'll still see a platoon.
Another text here on the Titan MR text line says, do you guys think the Gators will win any games this weekend other than Sunday when Cags pitches? He is the only proven starter we have. Look, it's baseball. A&M, I believe, are they still undefeated? I know they were undefeated before their midweek game, and I don't even know they played. But
Yes,
what can
they're
you tell us
undefeated.
about the Aggies?
Well, their numbers don't lie, Shane. They're really good. And it starts with their coach. Tim Schlossnagle is one of the best coaches in college baseball, period.
Mm-hmm.
He's got 900 career wins in his career as a coach. And if you look at where he's coached and what his teams have done, he's a really good coach. They've got, in his time there, 14 series wins in the SEC. That's tied with Florida and Tennessee for the most. They lead the country in ERA. Shane, their team ERA is 2.01. 2.01, 6 shutouts. And their starters combine for a .53 ERA, 81 strikeouts in 51 innings. So they're really good. And the thing that they do really well, which scares me in this series, they have drawn 142 walks, which is number 2 in the country. And what's been Florida's problem? Throwing strikes.
Yeah.
So job one for this Gator pitching staff, please throw strikes and allow your defense, which is good, to make plays.
Yeah, it's like when you're coaching Little League Baseball. Son, just throw strikes. Standing out here in the outfield and just letting guys go from base to base throwing walks, it wears you out. Andy's question for you on Facebook Live brought to you by Mellon Law. Which of the freshman pitchers do you think will have the greatest impact this season?
Well, I'm going to stick to this. I really like Philpott a lot, and I have since the fall. The problem has been with these guys twofold. One, throwing strikes consistently, and two, putting together sort of back-to-back outings. McNeely is a perfect example of this. I mean, the guy throws 94, 95, but he's putting the ball in the middle of the plate. And when you do that against college hitters, against good teams, that's going to hurt you. And he's not had great control. But I'm going to stick with Philpott. I've liked him from the start. I'll stick with him, but we'll see.
So let's say all hell breaks loose and Sully makes some changes. How difficult would it be if he were to bring Brandon Neely into the rotation after he's just been a closer like the last year or so?
He would have to build to that, I think. The good thing is Neely's been a starter. I think in his heart of hearts, Shane, Neely wants to be a starter. He has the mentality to be a closer, but I think just in his head, he wants to be a starter. You'd have to extend him, in his bullpen work. He's gone out as a closer and thrown 50 pitches. So that's not unusual. Can he throw 90 pitches right away? Can he throw 100 pitches right away? Probably not, but that's going to be one of the considerations. If you move him to be a starter, you're going to have to build his arm strength. But I think that process won't be as much as it would be for some other guys because, A, he's been a starter, and B, they've extended him already somewhat.
We're speaking with Steve Russell here on the Titan MR hotline, courtesy of Comfort Temp. Baseball sits at 10-6, which is somewhat disappointing. I understand that with all the years that Sully has had. Steve, calling the games through 16 games, what has surprised you the most and what has disappointed you the most so far?
The pitching's been the biggest disappointment. No question. Sully's teams have prided themselves on throwing strikes, and this group has not thrown strikes. That is the biggest surprise. Did I think they would struggle a little bit? Because again, you got a lot of young arms that are out there, but I respect him a lot for what he says because he doesn't make excuses, Shane. He just said, look, they're not freshmen anymore. They got to realize they got to go out and do the job. And he makes a great point. This is the roster we have. We're not going in the portal in March to get somebody. We're not going to the minor leagues to bring somebody up. This is who we have. So we have to make the best of this. So I think that the pitching has been the most disappointing thing. The thing that I thought they would be, which is what they are, is a very good defensive team. I think this is one of Sully's better defensive teams. They've made some errors, but if you look at their fielding percentage, it's been really, really good. And then look, in this day and age, there's a lot of strikeouts. There's power pitchers, power relievers, power middle guys. A lot of teams strike out a lot, but they are striking out at a pretty alarming rate. Against FSU the other night, they struck out 15 times. Think about it. That means in 5 innings of the 9, you'll put the ball in play. And that they scored runs in those other 4 innings where they didn't strike out. That's got to come down a little bit.
Yeah, there's no question. Colby Shelton, is he everything you thought he would be?
Yes. And what has surprised me, Sully told me that he was a better shortstop than what people thought he was. And I understand how good defensively Josh Rivera was and is, but I'm very impressed with him at shortstop. We all know the power he has. We've already seen that, but I've been pleasantly surprised, and Sully's been right, as he most often is, with the way he has played defense. He's made the routine play, and he's made some excellent plays in the hole. So while not a terrible surprise, just seeing him perform the way he has at shortstop, that's been a pleasant thing to see.
Yeah, for sure. Back to the game Tuesday night against Florida State. Obviously, losing stinks, and that midweek game matters because it's Florida State, and then the Miami series matters. But the both teams threw a bunch of pitchers that night. But I mean, just crucial errors. I was watching the game, flipping back and forth. The error that Curlin made kind of opened the floodgates early on. But as you said, you like this team defensively, right?
Yes, I do. Curlin sometimes will make an error that you scratch your head. He'll field the ball and then throw it away on a routine play. That's got to get a little bit better. But, against FSU the other night, let's give Link Jarrett some credit. He played at FSU. He's back at his alma mater. And FSU last year, Shane, was terrible. I mean, they were bad. And this year went to the portal. They're a lot better. I mean, he's done a great job in turning that roster around. And I thought 1 through 9 at the plate, they were really good. Guys got on base. They run the bases well. This is a good team. Now, we'll see how they do in the ACC because, again, the ACC, I think, is the second best league in the country behind the SEC. But no doubt they are vastly better. And let me make one more point. A lot of people have complained, and I get it, that you're losing to UCF, that you're losing to teams like that. Please go back to the 2017 national championship season. And when you do, go back and look at how many games Florida lost to in-state teams. They lost to Florida Gulf Coast.
Did we lose Steve? I think we lost Steve. Well, he was making the point that I've made. Even last year, playing for the national title, we lost a lot of midweek games as well. So anyway, we appreciate Steve joining us. I don't know what happened there. He must have lost cell service for some reason. I had a couple of. Yeah, you're back. You're back. We lost you there for a minute. Yeah, but yeah, I've told people multiple times, Steve. Even last year, playing for the national title, they lost midweek games. People try to make fun of me. People are doing it right now, but I'm not going to even address them about those midweek games don't matter. I try to tell people in baseball, and I could be 100% wrong here, it's your conference schedule, and then the teams, the Miamis of the world, the Florida States, those games matter. Doesn't matter about St. John's or Maine or any of those guys because it's such a long season. You got to win the series. You try to win every series in SEC play. If you do that in our conference, you're going to get a good seed. But anyway, long story short is you're going to lose midweek games.
Yeah, because you don't – I mean, look, it used to be back in the day where a UCF would throw a weekend starter. Well, even they don't do that anymore because they play in leagues. So you're – I don't want to say down the line pitching, but your non-weekend guys are pitching against your non-weekend guys. And every once in a while, the other team's going to win. I understand fans don't like losing to those schools because then they go on social media and do all. It doesn't matter. Just as you said, as long as they take care of business in the SEC, they beat Miami 2 out of 3. If you beat FSU 2 out of 3, successful.
Yeah. All right. Last thing for you before we get you out of here. The crowds at the ballpark have been phenomenal. Walk around the outfield. I mean, it's a great ballpark. But just your thoughts on the crowds that have been so far at the home games.
Well, as somebody who's a baseball guy, Shane, it's great to see, but it does start with that ballpark. It is a terrific ballpark. Now, it costs money if you want to get something to eat and drink. It ain't cheap, but no place is cheap when it comes to that anymore. But the berms are always, that's the biggest surprise to me in the entire ballpark, that people have really taken to going on the berm and watching the game from there. I think that's great. The amenities are obviously great, and you have a good program. Look, that's part of it. If Florida wasn't winning, would there be the size crowds there are? No, I don't think so. But the ballpark itself is still so nice and so new that people want to go watch baseball anyway because it's baseball, and that's such a cool thing.
Yeah, it really is. Like Greg says, losing 5-4 is one thing, but losing 12-10 is a different story. That's today's baseball. The bats, it's just people score runs in today's baseball. It's hard to keep people under 4 or 5 runs. Am I crazy to say that, Steve?
No. The technology, there's nobody really says this, but if you talk to baseball people, Shane, they're telling you the baseball's being manufactured differently. Condon Ballpark, for whatever the reason, is an absolute launching pad. I mean, that place, I would not want to pitch there. I would not want to pitch there because most days the wind blows out. And with bats and with guys that are in the shape they're in, plus the way the balls are being manufactured, there's going to be a lot of games that are, 8-6, 10-8. That's just the nature of the beast. And I'm interested, Shane, right at the top of the show, we talked about A&M's gaudy pitching numbers. Will they hold up against this Gator lineup in this ballpark? That to me is a huge key of this entire series.
Yeah. All right, Steve, before we get you out of here, you and Mark Wise done for the year with Hoop There It Is, or y'all still have some episodes?
We got one more Monday because we're going to go over the madness and who does what. And then Jeff and I start our baseball show the week after that. So the baseball softball show. So that's going to be a lot of fun too.
It never ends for the Dean of Sports. Appreciate your time, Steve.
Appreciate you, Shane. Thank you.
That's Steve Russell joining us on the Titan MR Hotline, courtesy of Comfort Temp. Silverback Concrete builds firm foundations for generations. You stand on it. We stand by it. Hope you enjoyed today's program. We'll recap everything over the weekend. We'll have the brackets all set. Enjoy the games and golf. Take care, folks. See you on Monday.
You still there, Dana? Yeah, I know. I was sitting in the same exact place. I never moved. That was weird. But glad I